Cameron Brooks did not notice the passport was missing at first, not because she was careless or because she was distracted by luxury. Cameron noticed everything. She noticed when a driver took the long route. She noticed when a smile lasted half a second too long. She noticed when a deal shifted by a single clause. But that night in Dubai, standing in the cool hush of a five-star hotel lobby with marble floors and glass chandeliers, she was still running on the belief that her husband was her partner. It was supposed to be a simple trip, a long weekend that doubled his business the way their life always did. A founders summit, a few investor dinners, a quick appearance at a charity gala because Tyler loved cameras and microphones and being seen as generous. And then, 2 days in, they were meant to fly back to the States, back to Atlanta, back to their home, back to the company they built together. Cameron had even joked about it in the mirror earlier that evening, smoothing the sleeve of her dress. "We're going to Dubai and back like it's a Target run," she'd said. Tyler had laughed, kissed her cheek, and told her she looked incredible. Now, the concierge was looking at her with practiced politeness and just enough distance to make her feel like she'd become a problem. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said. "Your reservation is no longer active." Cameron blinked once. "That's not possible." The concierge tapped again, eyes on the screen. It was canceled. Cameron's first instinct was to turn and look for Tyler, like this had to be some silly mix-up, some glitch that would be fixed the second he stepped forward and said her name. But Tyler was not beside her. He was not behind her either. He had been with her 10 minutes earlier, walking through the lobby, talking about tomorrow's breakfast meeting, talking about how they should extend the stay, talking about how he wanted to show her the view from the rooftop pool. And then he'd gotten a call, stepped away, handed her the room key card and said, "Go upstairs, babe. I'll meet you." Now, Cameron realized something else. The room key card in her hand did not have their room number printed on it. It was blank. Cameron looked down at it, then back at the concierge. "Can you call my husband, Tyler Van Doren? He's checked in. He's here." The concierge hesitated, then gave a small nod and tapped the system. A few seconds passed. "I'm sorry," he said again, softer this time, like he was trying to be kind. "I don't see that name attached to any active reservation either." Cameron felt a slow, cold slide down her spine. That was when her phone buzzed. She expected Tyler's name. Instead, it was a notification from her email, a security alert. New sign and detected. Company portal access changed. Cameron stared at the screen, her thumb hovering, a strange stiffness in her fingers. She clicked. The email was from their internal system. "Your password has been updated. If you did not request this change, contact your administrator." Her heart thumped once, hard. Cameron looked up and scanned the lobby again. She saw tourists drifting through, staff moving in quiet lines, a couple laughing by the fountain. It all looked normal. Too normal. And then she saw him. Tyler across the lobby, half turned away, talking to a man in a tailored suit. Tyler's posture was relaxed, casual, like he had all the time in the world. Cameron walked toward him. Not fast, not frantic. She had spent too many years learning how to move through rooms full of people who waited for her to look upset. She had learned how quickly a woman's panic could be used against her, how easily it could be turned into a story someone else told about her. So she walked like she belonged. Tyler turned just as she reached him, and his smile was easy, almost affectionate. "Hey, babe," he said, "everything okay?" Cameron held up the blank key card. "They said our reservation is canceled." Tyler's eyebrows rose, perfectly shaped surprise. "What? No, that's insane." Cameron watched his face while he spoke, the micro movements, the timing, the way his eyes did not widen enough. He looked annoyed, not shocked. He looked like a man pretending to be inconvenienced. Tyler gave the man he'd been talking to a quick nod. "Give me 1 sec." Then he turned fully to Cameron. "Let me handle it," he said, lowering his voice. "It's probably some booking glitch. You know how these systems get." Cameron's phone buzzed again. This time, a second email. 2-factor authentication disabled. Cameron felt her throat tighten. "Tyler," she said, keeping her voice steady, "I can't get into the company portal." Tyler's face shifted, just a touch, like he was deciding what expression to wear. "Probably the hotel Wi-Fi," he said. "Dubai internet can be weird." Cameron stared at him. He reached out and brushed his fingers along her arm, soft, calming, almost intimate. But Cameron's body did not relax, because her mind had started running a different direction. She thought about how Tyler insisted on handling certain admin tasks, how he always wanted to simplify things, which meant passwords changed, access rerouted, approvals funneled through him. She thought about how he'd said more than once, "You don't need to stress over the boring stuff, Cam. Let me take that." She thought about the way he smiled when he said it, like he was doing her a favor, like she should be grateful. Cameron took a slow breath. "Let's go upstairs," she said. "Let's get to the room and figure it out." Tyler's hand tightened slightly on her arm. "Yeah, about that," he said, soft. "I need you to wait down here for a minute." Cameron held his gaze. "Why?" Tyler gave a small laugh. "Because I'm going to talk to the front desk, babe. Relax." Cameron looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. A man in a luxury hotel lobby telling his wife to relax while her access was being stripped away in real time. She took her arm back. "I'm coming with you." Tyler's smile did not reach his eyes. "Cameron, don't make this a thing." There it was, the warning, the subtle threat hidden inside a soft tone. Don't make this a thing. Cameron leaned in slightly, voice low enough that only he could hear. "What did you do?" Tyler's face stayed smooth. "I don't know what you're talking about." Cameron watched him for one long second. Then she stepped back. "Okay," she said. "Handle it." And she walked away. Not because she believed him, because she wanted space to think. She moved toward a quiet seating area near a wall of indoor palms, sat down, and opened her phone. First, she tried to reset her password. The reset email did not come. Second, she tried to log in with her personal email. Access denied. Then, she opened their bank app, the one that gave her visibility on business accounts. It loaded. For half a second. Then, it kicked her out and asked for a new verification. Cameron's stomach tightened. She tried again. A message appeared. "This account is currently unavailable. Please contact your administrator." She stared at the screen, and something inside her went still. Not fear. Clarity. Tyler wasn't inconvenienced. He was executing. Cameron forced her breathing to stay slow. Around her, the lobby hummed. Somewhere, a glass clinked. A laugh rose. A bellhop rolled luggage past like nothing in the world had shifted. Cameron's phone buzzed again. A text from Tyler. "Babe, I'm going to run upstairs real quick. Stay put. I'll be right back." Cameron looked up. Tyler was already walking toward the elevators, not the front desk. The elevators. He did not look back. Cameron stood. She walked quickly but not wildly toward the concierge desk again. "I need my passport," she said. "It's in my room." The concierge looked apologetic. "Ma'am, if the reservation has been canceled, we no longer have authorization to grant access." Cameron's chest tightened. "My passport is in that room." "I understand," he said, and his eyes flicked briefly, like he was checking if anyone else was watching. "But I must follow protocol." Cameron swallowed. She had traveled enough to know what this meant. She was not just locked out of a hotel room, she was locked out of mobility, locked out of the easiest path home, and Tyler, somewhere upstairs, had the one thing she needed to leave. Cameron pulled up her airline app, her flight home, scheduled for tomorrow. She clicked. A red message appeared. "This itinerary has been canceled." Cameron's hands went cold. Her phone buzzed again. Another email. "A new admin has been assigned to your account. Your permissions have been updated." Cameron sat back down and forced herself to think like the woman who built a company. Step 1, confirm reality. Step 2, map the angles. Step 3, act fast. She opened her messages and searched Tyler's name. Their history flooded the screen, affectionate texts mixed with business notes. She scrolled back, not for romance, for patterns. She found it, a message from weeks ago. Tyler. Send me your passport for check-in, babe. I'll keep everything together. Cameron remembered how normal that had felt at the time, how sweet even, how convenient. Now it read like premeditation. Cameron's phone buzzed again, a call this time, unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A calm voice spoke, crisp and professional. Ms. Brooks, this is Kendra Lewis with Harrington Share Registry. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Cameron's mouth went dry. Who? Harrington Share Registry, the voice repeated. We handle the registrar services for Van Doren Holdings Limited. Cameron's heart thumped. That was the UK holding company. The one Tyler insisted was cleaner for international investors, the one that held the controlling shares. Cameron's mind flashed back, months earlier, sitting at her kitchen table with a stack of documents, Tyler moving too fast, smiling too easily, telling her, just sign here, babe, standard stuff. Cameron had signed most of it, but not all, because Cameron did not move through life unprotected. She'd learned that lesson young, in rooms where her brilliance was praised until it threatened someone's ego, in deals where her work built the value but her name was treated like decoration. So when Tyler created the UK structure, Cameron had done something quiet. She had filed a private instruction with the registrar, a simple request triggered by a single condition. If any replacement certificate is issued or any transfer request is submitted on Cameron's shares, notify her immediately and reissue the certificate in her name. It was a precaution, one she hoped she'd never need. Now that calm voice continued. Ms. Brooks, I'm calling to confirm that a share certificate was reissued in your name earlier today. The request was submitted as if the previous certificate was lost. Our system flagged it because of the standing instruction on your account. I'm required to inform you. Cameron stared forward, her vision tunneling. Earlier today, Tyler had attempted to claim her certificate was lost. He was trying to replace it, so he could move it, so he could take her stake. Cameron swallowed, voice steady. Who submitted the request? There was a small pause. According to our records, the request came through the company's secretary, Kendra said, but the supporting documentation appears to have been signed electronically by Mr. Tyler Van Doren. Cameron's eyes flicked to the elevators, to the polished glass doors that kept opening and closing like nothing in the world was happening. She lowered her voice. Is the certificate reissued to me now? Yes, Kendra said. It has been reissued in your name as sole holder, per your standing instruction. Also, a transfer request was submitted. That request is currently suspended pending verification because of the alert. Cameron's pulse hit her throat. A suspended transfer request, a paused theft, a lever she'd set months ago, quietly, like a woman hiding a spare key no one knew existed. Cameron closed her eyes for half a second. Then she opened them and stood. Kendra, she said, I need everything in writing. Email me the confirmation, the timestamp, the method of request, and the name and contact details of the company's secretary who filed it. Yes, ma'am, Kendra said. I can send that immediately. Send it to my personal email, Cameron said, not the company email. Understood. Cameron ended the call and immediately dialed the one person she knew would not panic. Her cousin's friend, a woman Cameron had met once at a conference in New York, a solicitor from London who specialized in high-conflict divorce cases, corporate governance, and asset freezing orders. Her name was Priya Sandhu. Cameron had saved her number months ago, just in case, because Cameron never believed love was a substitute for preparation. The line rang. Priya answered on the second ring. Priya Sandhu. Priya, Cameron said. It's Cameron Brooks. I'm in Dubai. My husband just locked me out of our hotel, canceled my flight, and stripped my access to the company. He's trying to transfer my shares in our UK holding company. There was silence for a beat. Not shocked silence. Focused silence. Then Priya spoke, voice steady as stone. Are you safe? I'm in the hotel lobby, Cameron said. He's upstairs. Okay, Priya said. Do you have your passport? No. Okay, Priya said again, like she was building a plan in her head. We can work with that. We need 2 tracks, your physical safety and your assets. First, I want you to move somewhere public, bright, with cameras. Stay visible. Second, I need you to forward me every email, every alert, every record you have. Do you have a registrar confirmation? It's coming, Cameron said. Good, Priya replied. Third, I need the name of your company's secretary. Cameron's stomach tightened. I don't know yet. We'll get it, Priya said. Listen carefully. If your holding company is governed by English law, we can apply for an emergency injunction in the High Court. We can also seek an order restraining the company from registering any transfer and an order preventing him from acting as director. Cameron's jaw clenched. How fast? Fast, Priya said, but you have to move as if time is everything. Cameron looked at the clock on the wall. 72 hours. She didn't know why that number appeared in her mind. Maybe because she felt it. A window where Tyler thought she'd be too trapped, too embarrassed, too disoriented to fight back. Cameron's voice hardened. I'm ready. Good, Priya said. Now, one more thing. Do not confront him alone. Do not let him isolate you. He will try to make you look unstable. He will try to force you into a scene. Cameron's eyes flicked to the elevators again. She could almost picture Tyler's plan, like a script. He strands her. She panics. She makes noise. He tells everyone she is emotional, irrational, unsafe. He becomes the calm one. He becomes the victim. Cameron swallowed. Understood, Priya continued. I'm going to send you an email address and a secure upload link. Start sending everything. Also, I want the names of every board member. We will need to contact them. Cameron nodded, even though Priya couldn't see her. Okay. And Cameron, Priya added, voice softer for a split second, I'm sorry, but we're going to handle this. Cameron ended the call and sat down again, her hands steady now. Her fear had turned into something sharper, not rage, purpose. Her phone buzzed. An email from Harrington Share Registry. Subject line, confirmation of certificate reissue and transfer suspension. Cameron opened it and read every line twice. It confirmed the time, the request, the suspension, and the note about the standing instruction Cameron had placed months earlier. Cameron forwarded it to Priya immediately. Then she did the next thing. She contacted the one person inside the company who might still have a conscience, the company's secretary. Cameron searched the corporate filings on her phone, pulling up their UK listing documents, the governance pages Tyler liked to show investors to prove they were serious. There it was. Company Secretary, Elliot Mayfield. Cameron clicked the number. It rang, once, twice. Then, unexpectedly, Elliot answered. Elliot Mayfield. Cameron did not waste time. Elliot, it's Cameron Brooks. There was a pause. Ms. Brooks. Cameron heard it in his voice. He knew something. Elliot? Cameron said calmly. A transfer request was submitted today for my shares. It was submitted through your office. The registrar flagged it and suspended it. I need you to tell me the truth. Did Tyler instruct you to file it? Silence. Then Elliot exhaled, like a man who had been holding his breath for hours. I can't discuss internal filings, he said, but his voice was strained, like he was reading a line he didn't believe. Cameron kept her tone even. Elliot, if your office filed a fraudulent transfer request, you are personally exposed. That is not a threat. That's reality. Another pause. Then Elliot spoke, very quietly. He said you approved it. Cameron's eyes narrowed. He said I approved it? Yes, Elliot said. He sent an email with what looked like your approval. He said it was urgent, that you were traveling, that you wanted it processed immediately. Cameron let out a slow breath. Tyler had forged her consent. Cameron's voice stayed controlled. Elliot, when was the request dated? Elliot hesitated. It was dated 3 weeks ago. Cameron's stomach tightened. But it was filed today. Elliot's voice dropped. Yes. Backdated. Tyler was trying to make it look like Cameron had agreed weeks earlier, like the decision had already been made, like any objection now would look like regret, not resistance. Cameron's hand clenched around her phone. "Elliot, I need you to email me a written statement confirming that Tyler submitted the request, that it was filed today, and that it was backdated." "I can't," Elliot said quickly. "He'll destroy me." Cameron's voice softened, but only slightly. "Elliot, he already has. He used your office to commit fraud. If you stay silent, you become the fall guy. If you speak, you become the witness." Silence. Cameron waited. In the lobby, a couple rolled suitcases toward the elevators. A child laughed. A bell chimed. Then Elliot spoke again, barely above a whisper. "He told me you were unstable. He said you were spiraling. He said you might try to sabotage the company." Cameron's chest tightened with something bitter. Not surprise, recognition. Because she had heard versions of that story her whole life, dressed up in different words. Too emotional, too aggressive, too unpredictable, too much. Cameron kept her voice steady. "Elliot, look at me, not him. Do you believe that about me?" Elliot hesitated. "No," Cameron nodded once. "Then do the right thing." Another pause. Then Elliot said, "I'll send what I can, but I need protection." Cameron replied instantly. "You'll get it. I'm speaking to counsel now. Send it to my personal email. Also copy Priya Sandhu. I'll text you her address." Elliot agreed, voice tense but resolved. Cameron ended the call. And right then, Tyler called her. His name flashed on the screen like an insult. Cameron answered, voice neutral. "Yes?" Tyler's tone was smooth, controlled. "Where are you?" "In the lobby," Cameron said. Tyler let out a small laugh, like she was a stubborn child. "Why are you making this harder than it needs to be?" Cameron's eyes fixed on the far wall. "Explain." Tyler's voice lowered. "Cameron, you're tired. You've been stressed. You've been paranoid about the business for months. I'm trying to protect you." Cameron almost smiled. Because it was so textbook, he was already building the narrative. Tyler continued. "You forgot your passport. You left it in the safe. I'm trying to fix it, but you're down there creating drama." Cameron's fingers tightened. "I forgot my passport." "Yes," Tyler said quickly. "And now you're blaming me. I'm literally upstairs dealing with the front desk." Cameron's voice stayed calm. "Bring my passport down." A pause. Then Tyler said, "I can't right now. I'm in the middle of something." Cameron's eyes flicked to the elevators again. She realized with chilling clarity that Tyler did not want her passport in her hands, because if she had it, she could leave. And if she could leave, she could fight from home, from a court, from a familiar system. Tyler needed her stuck. Tyler continued, voice soft, almost soothing. "Let's do this the easy way. Come upstairs. We'll talk." Cameron's stomach tightened. This was the isolation move. Get her behind closed doors, control her, possibly take her phone, possibly intimidate her until she agreed to something, signed something, recorded something he could use. Cameron's voice became slightly colder. "No," Tyler's tone sharpened just for a second. "Cameron," she held firm. "No." A beat, then Tyler's voice returned to calm. "Fine. If you want to act like this, you can sit down there and embarrass yourself. But you're not going to win." Cameron listened to his certainty, his arrogance, and she understood something else. Tyler thought he had covered every angle. He thought Dubai was the perfect place to trap her. He thought the distance would make her helpless. He thought she would crumble. Cameron spoke softly. "Tyler, you should have made sure you took away everything." Tyler went quiet. Cameron continued, voice even. "Because you missed something." Tyler laughed, but it sounded forced. "Okay." Cameron ended the call. She didn't need to say more. Not yet. Minutes later, Priya emailed her. A plan, sharp and structured. Emergency injunction application drafted. Affidavit outline. Evidence checklist. Board contact list request. Cameron began sending everything. Emails, screenshots, the registrar confirmation, the flight cancellation notice, the hotel cancellation record, a time-stamped photo of the blank key card. Cameron then did the next smartest thing she could. She called the U.S. consulate, not because she expected immediate rescue, but because she needed a paper trail, a record that she was being deprived of her passport, a record that she was being prevented from traveling, a record that could matter later. The consulate representative listened, asked questions, and told her the process for an emergency passport. It would take time, maybe a day, maybe more. Cameron thanked them, got a case number, and wrote it down. Then she called the airline and learned something that made her grip the phone harder. The cancellation had not been done through the app. It had been done by someone with access to the booking reference and the payment method. Tyler. She called the bank that issued their travel card and found that the card had been frozen. By request of the primary account holder, the representative said. Tyler. Cameron's chest rose and fell slowly. He wasn't just taking her shares, he was trying to train her, to teach her that leaving him would cost her everything. Cameron looked around the lobby again. She saw staff moving, guests talking, the world still spinning, and she realized the most dangerous part of this kind of betrayal. It happened in plain sight. Then Elliot's email arrived. Subject line, Share transfer filing. Cameron opened it. Her eyes scanned quickly. Elliot confirmed the request was filed today. He confirmed Tyler provided a document claiming Cameron's approval. He confirmed the transfer was dated 3 weeks earlier. He added one sentence that made Cameron's jaw tighten. He wrote that Tyler instructed him not to contact Cameron directly because, in Tyler's words, she's not stable right now and she might try to stop it. Cameron forwarded the email to Priya. Then she sat back, her heart pounding, but her mind steady. She had what she needed. Proof. And now, the clock started moving. Because Priya moved like a machine when she had evidence. Within hours, Priya filed an emergency application in the High Court in London. Cameron signed affidavits electronically, sitting in a hotel lobby in Dubai, her phone balanced on her knee, her hands steady while her life tried to tilt. Priya requested an injunction restraining Tyler from transferring or disposing of any shares held by Cameron. She requested an order preventing the company from registering any transfer. She requested an order compelling the company's secretary to preserve records. She requested a board notice. She requested immediate relief. And because the documents were tight, because the evidence was clean, because the story was unmistakable, the court granted an emergency hearing. Cameron sat in the lobby the next morning, her phone plugged into a portable charger, headphones in her ears, listening to Priya speak in court. It was surreal. The legal language, the formality, the calm way Priya described what Tyler had done. Coercive control, Priya said, fraudulent backdating. Attempted dispossession of marital assets. Cameron heard Tyler's name spoken in that room, in that city, in that court. And for the first time since last night, Cameron felt something like relief. Not because the fight was over, because Tyler was no longer the only person telling the story. Tyler, of course, responded. His counsel claimed Cameron was confused. They claimed she had agreed to restructure her shares for tax efficiency. They claimed she was misinterpreting administrative changes as betrayal. They claimed she was traveling and had misplaced her passport herself. They claimed Tyler was simply trying to manage the business while she rested. Cameron listened, and her lips pressed into a thin line. The more they spoke, the more obvious it became. Tyler wasn't trying to prove she was wrong. He was trying to make her look unreliable. Priya responded calmly, then introduced the registrar email, the standing instruction, the suspended transfer. Then she introduced Elliot's statement, the backdating, the request filed today, the forged approval. Cameron listened as the judge's tone changed, subtly but unmistakably. A shift from curiosity to concern, a shift from neutrality to attention. And then the judge granted the injunction, emergency relief, immediate restraint. Cameron's shares were protected. The transfer was blocked. The company was ordered not to register anything. Tyler was ordered to preserve records, and the board was notified. Cameron exhaled slowly, her eyes closing for half a second. That was one track. The second track was the board. Because Tyler's real power wasn't just legal, it was social, it was perception. He controlled the narrative in the company. He was the charismatic face, the one investors loved, the one employees feared, the one who smiled while he cut people. Cameron knew the board would hesitate to act unless forced, but the injunction forced them to look. And when board members look closely at men like Tyler, they start seeing what they ignored. The board called an emergency meeting. Cameron was still in Dubai, still without her passport, but now she was no longer invisible. She dialed in. Her voice came through the speaker like clean steel. Tyler spoke too, of course, calm, controlled, wounded. He said Cameron was overreacting. He said she was stressed. He said he was trying to protect the company. Cameron let him finish. Then she spoke. She did not scream. She did not accuse wildly. She laid out facts. The canceled hotel booking, the flight cancellation, the frozen card, the portal lockout, the registrar confirmation, the backdated transfer request, the forged approval. And then she said one sentence that made the room go quiet. You stranded me in a foreign country without my passport while you tried to take my shares. If you can do that to your wife, you can do it to this company. Silence. Then a board member spoke, voice careful. Tyler, did you cancel the hotel booking? Tyler replied smoothly. No, it was a misunderstanding. Cameron spoke calmly. I have the hotel's written confirmation that the cancellation was processed through the account holder's profile. Tyler's profile. More silence. Another board member asked, Did you freeze the card? Tyler hesitated. I froze it temporarily to prevent fraud. Cameron was upset and I didn't want her making impulsive decisions. Cameron's eyes narrowed. I'm a co-founder. The card was not frozen to prevent fraud. It was frozen to prevent me from leaving. Tyler's voice sharpened slightly. Cameron, stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Cameron almost smiled again, because there it was, the real Tyler. The one who didn't believe she had the right to speak. Cameron stayed calm. You're embarrassed because you got caught. The chair of the board cleared his throat. Tyler, he said, we're going to place you on temporary suspension pending investigation. Tyler's voice rose. What? Cameron heard it, the crack. The moment Tyler realized the room was no longer his, the chair continued. We have an emergency injunction from the High Court. We have evidence of a backdated transfer request. We have evidence of a canceled reservation. This is not a misunderstanding. This is a serious governance issue. Tyler's tone turned cold. Cameron set me up? Cameron's voice was steady. No, Tyler, you set yourself up. I just refuse to be quiet. The board meeting ended with Tyler suspended. It ended with an independent audit ordered. It ended with a commitment to cooperate with the relevant regulator, because the attempt to transfer shares and mislead the registrar created regulatory exposure. And it ended with Tyler's image cracking. Not in public yet, but inside the rooms that mattered. Cameron sat in the lobby after the call, her heart still racing. She was still in Dubai, still without a passport. But now, the hotel staff treated her differently. Not because they suddenly respected her, because they could sense power had shifted. A few hours later, Tyler came down. He walked toward her like a man approaching property he believed belonged to him. He sat across from her without asking. His jaw was tight. His eyes were flat. You think you won, he said quietly. Cameron looked at him. For a second, she saw the man she married, the man who had once brought her coffee while she worked late, who had once told her he admired her mind. Then she saw what that admiration had turned into. Envy, control, ownership. Cameron spoke softly. Give me my passport. Tyler leaned back. You forgot it. Cameron held his gaze. Tyler, don't do that. Not now. Tyler's lips twitched. Do what? Cameron's voice stayed calm. The gaslighting, the rewriting, the pretending. Tyler leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing. You're stuck here, Cameron. You realize that, right? Even with your little court order, you're still in Dubai. You're still without documents. You're still dependent. Cameron stared at him. And that was when she saw it clearly. This wasn't just about shares. This was about the thrill of trapping her, of watching her scramble, of proving he could. Cameron's voice was quiet but firm. You're going to regret this, Tyler smirked. I don't regret anything. I regret trusting you. Cameron nodded slowly. Okay. She stood, picked up her bag, and walked away. Not because she was defeated, because she was done talking. She returned to the concierge desk and requested a separate room under her own name, with payment guaranteed through a legal retainer account Priya had already arranged. The hotel, now aware of the board situation and the legal scrutiny, complied. Cameron moved into a different room that night. She contacted the consulate again. She got an appointment. She began the process for an emergency passport. And she did one more thing. She called a security consultant in Dubai, a woman, an American expat who specialized in discreet travel safety for executives. Cameron hired her for 48 hours, not because she wanted drama, because she wanted to make sure Tyler could not corner her. The next day, Tyler's tone shifted. He texted her apologetic messages. He claimed he was stressed. He said he made mistakes. He asked her to come upstairs and talk privately. Cameron ignored him because she had seen the pattern, the cruelty, then the charm, the trap, then the apology, the harm, then the flowers. Cameron received her emergency passport on the third day. The consulate staff were professional, and one woman, while handing Cameron the document, gave her a look that said, without words, I understand. Cameron walked out of the consulate with her shoulders squared. 72 hours after Tyler tried to strand her, Cameron had her ability to leave. But she did not leave immediately. Not yet. Because Cameron understood something important. Tyler had used travel and documents as a weapon, and that meant other women were living this story too. Maybe not in Dubai, maybe not with shares, but with passports hidden, tickets canceled, money frozen, phones taken, visas controlled. Cameron went back to the hotel lobby one last time. Tyler was there, waiting, like he'd been waiting to stage his final scene. He stood as she approached, trying to look remorseful. Cam, he said softly, I'm sorry. I panicked. I didn't mean it to go this far. Cameron looked at him, her face calm. Tyler, she said, you didn't panic. You planned. Tyler's eyes flickered. What are you talking about? Cameron took out her phone and opened an email. Not from the registrar, not from Priya. Another message, just received. It was from the company's independent investigator. A note attached to a file, a sealed HR report. The subject line made Cameron's stomach twist. Prior complaint, coercive travel restriction. Cameron looked at Tyler and spoke softly. You did this before. Tyler's face tightened. That's not true. Cameron kept her voice even. A previous partner filed an HR complaint. It says you withheld her passport during an international trip. It says you threatened her access to money. It says you tried to force her to sign documents. Tyler's smile faltered. Just a crack. Cameron leaned in slightly. You thought you could do it again because you thought no one would believe me. Tyler's voice lowered, sharp. You're trying to destroy me. Cameron nodded slowly. No, Tyler. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped cleaning it up. She turned and walked out of the hotel. On the flight home, Cameron stared out the window at the endless dark sky. Her mind replayed the past 72 hours. The blank key card, the canceled flight, the locked portal, the smooth way Tyler lied, the quiet way the registrar email saved her. Cameron understood something now that she hadn't fully seen before. People talk about control like it's shouting or hitting or screaming. But Tyler's control had been quiet. Administrative, paperwork, passwords, bookings, travel, a system built to make a woman feel helpless without a bruise on her skin. Cameron landed in Atlanta with her emergency passport, her head high, and her next move already forming. She filed in the U.S., too. Protective orders, financial restraints, divorce proceedings. Priya coordinated the UK actions, the injunction, the governance filings, the pressure on the company. And as the audit unfolded, more things surfaced. Backdated memos, unusual transfers, private deals Tyler had never disclosed. The board began cooperating fully, not out of kindness, but out of survival. Because the regulator inquiry was now real. And Tyler's reputation, the thing he valued most, was turning radioactive. Cameron did interviews only when necessary. When she spoke, she did not sound like a woman seeking revenge. She sounded like a woman exposing a method. She spoke about coercive control, about financial abuse, about travel restriction as a weapon. She spoke about how quickly a confident woman could become trapped when her documents were taken. And then she launched it. The Travel Control Hotline, a real number, a real service, a network of vetted attorneys, consulate guidance resources, emergency travel advisors, and secure document planning. A hotline designed for women who found themselves stuck in a foreign country with no passport, no money, and no one believing them. Cameron did not call it a charity. She called it infrastructure, because too many women had been forced to improvise survival. Cameron made it simple, a clear plan, a clear process, a clear path out. And on the first day the hotline went live, the calls came in faster than she expected. A woman in Cancun whose boyfriend lost her passport. A woman in Istanbul whose husband froze her account and told her she was too emotional to travel alone. A woman in Paris whose partner held her visa paperwork and threatened to tear it up. Cameron listened, and with every call, her anger transformed into something else. A mission, not to be the cautionary tale, but to be the reason someone else got home. Months later, Cameron sat in her office, sunlight pouring through the windows, a framed copy of her injunction order on the wall, not as a trophy, but as proof. Priya called her from London with a final update. "They're moving forward," Priya said. "Board removed him permanently. The regulator inquiry is escalating. He's being investigated for governance breaches." Cameron exhaled slowly. "Good." Priya hesitated. "Cameron, there's more." Cameron's stomach tightened. "What?" Priya's voice dropped. "The sealed HR report. There were multiple entries. The previous partner was not the only one." Cameron went still. Priya continued. "He has a pattern. He used travel, documents, and corporate structures repeatedly. He targeted women with something to lose, then isolated them abroad where systems move slowly." Cameron's hands clenched lightly on her desk. She stared at the hotline number printed on a small card near her laptop. Then she spoke quietly. "How many?" Priya exhaled. "We don't know yet, but it's enough that this will not stay private." Cameron nodded once, a slow, steady movement, because the fight was not over. Tyler had been stopped, but the method was bigger than Tyler. Cameron looked out the window, watching cars move down the street like normal life was still possible, like safety was a given. Then she looked back at the hotline card, and she whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "Not on my watch." And somewhere, in a different country, a woman's phone rang. And for the first time in days, she heard a calm voice on the other end. "Travel Control Hotline," the voice said. "You're not alone. Tell me where you are."